Hi everyone, in the second episode of Lil Pop Stars Podcast, we'll be having our very first special guest. She's been making music for a couple years now, and she's going to be talking to us about what it's been like making music as an independent artist. So here is our first special guest, Charlotte Chipembere.
I'm so excited. It's so cool that you both found my music and that you even know Luke. That's cool too.
I think I saw on your Instagram post that you co-wrote it with him. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's so weird. That must be so weird, as
Yeah.
a listener.
We're gonna start with a little pop quiz on yourself.
Okay.
So, what's a song that you've had on repeat?
Sticky, Tyler Creator.
Nice.
What was the first concert you ever went to?
Paul McCartney.
What's your favorite album this year?
Hit Me Hard and Soft behind you.
Nice.
Fire.
Favorite songs this year?
The Greatest. Shoot. That's all I can think of right now off the top of my head. Because I'm literally listening to Tyler's album right now on repeat.
What's the first Frank Ocean song that comes to mind?
Self-Control.
First SZA song that comes to mind?
Kill Bill.
Are there any new hobbies you started recently?
This isn't new, but I've taken it more seriously. Boxing. I've been sparring more, with an actual person instead of a heavy bag. So that's been interesting. My contact keeps falling out because they keep hitting my eye.
Oh my god.
Favorite food?
Chicken tenders.
Nice. Favorite color?
Emerald green.
Ooh.
Dream place to visit?
I want to go to Malawi. That's where my dad's side of the family's from. Every year that I've actually attempted to try to go, something that makes it not safe to travel happens. I.e. the pandemic, but before that, something political could be happening there. And I'm just I just want to go. I'm 50% that, so I want to be there.
And then a fun fact.
My last name means rhinoceros.
Oh.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I forget in what language. I think it's Swahili, but if I'm wrong, that's embarrassing. So we'll see.
You've been making music since 2019, right?
Yes. The reason I hesitated was because I think 2022 was when I released Crushed. And before that, it was just I don't even remember what equipment I had, and I did not know how to use it really. So yes, I released a song on SoundCloud in 2019, and then my first Spotify song was in 2022.
Have you ever thought of putting that song on other platforms?
I have, and it's Melanin, is what it's called, and I wrote it after I read John Mayer's interview, his famous Rolling Stone interview. And he basically said that the only Black woman he'd ever date is Halle Berry. And I was devastated because I'm in love with him, or I was in love with him. And so I was just I'm never going to be attractive to him. This is insane. But then I kind of flipped it. I'm too good for you anyways.
Yeah.
So, but it was kind of both feelings at the same time. And it actually did fairly well, considering I didn't know about promotion or anything. And I've thought about, because the message is actually really cool that came out of it, because I think deeply about being someone's type versus not being someone's type, and how that leaves me feeling, because there's more layers to it. Yeah, I've thought about making it an interlude, or editing it in some way, kind of like Billie did with Blue. And I forget the other song that's that was on her SoundCloud when she was 15. So something like that would be cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you have a favorite song you've written so far?
I would say Tunnel Vision for sure, because that's just I wrote that. I love writing with other people, but that was me.
Is there one that you haven't released yet that you really like?
Yes. I don't know, it's different. I think it's a little bit more pop-y that I really like. And
Nice.
in my mind, I see releasing it in a pretty long time from now, because right now I'm kind of leaning towards more scaled back production. Like I want more acoustic, I want more less instruments, and I want more of my vocals to shine through. And if I am a lot of production, I want it to be intentional and like more experimental than just like having a bunch of stuff going on for no reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. With like the music that you've released so far, are there any artists in particular that you take a lot of inspiration from?
Halloween was interesting, like writing wise. So I came to Luke with the first verse and chorus, but the words were all in different orders. Like he was like, I listened to your voice memo and like this makes more sense to start with I'm gonna build a time machine, versus I think originally I talked about Halloween like the first line or something. He brought so much. Like he took it to a way cooler place than it was originally. But anyways, at the time I was learning Ghost Town on the guitar by, I don't know what we call him now, Yay. And the like, and nothing hurts anymore, I feel kind of free, was inspiring me a lot. And then that's like kind of where the what if we made out on Halloween came from.
Yeah.
And then Ivy by Frank Ocean, like I liked the repetitiveness of I thought that I was dreaming when you said you loved me, was kind of like the equivalent of but what if we made out on Halloween, like that's gonna repeat and like start over the thought process. So those are like two very specific influences on that song. Other songs that are out, Sad Addict is very Billy inspired, and Tunnel Vision was Tyler the Creator inspired, because I originally wrote it to a Tyler the Creator beat, like just a random one on the internet. It sounds absolutely nothing like the song, and I was just pretending to be Tyler. Like I would never say those words, like brown on brown skin, you're a dog, just want a bone. Like I was like, all right, don't know where that came from, but I like it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks. Yeah, it sounds cool, and he makes things sound cool, and so like I think it's fun to just pretend to be someone else when you're writing sometimes.
So going off that, what's kind of like your songwriting like process?
It seriously varies. Right now, I'm trying to do something new, which is actually finish the thought. Like usually I go to the piano or the guitar. My guitar knowledge is super, super basic. So like the songs that come out of that are usually actually more like pure. And I kind of like that. Piano is where I kind of get more R&B with it, because I like a lot of chords. So basically just like I lay a chord progression, and if I like it, words will just start coming out. Like a melody will start coming out. And then I record on my phone and listen back. I'm like, all right, I like that. I like that, didn't like that. And then just keep going. But a lot of times I'll leave. Like I'm like, all right, I don't have anything else. Instead of just like pushing and being like, no, like the inspiration's coming right now. You intentionally sat down to write, like finish the thought.
So when you like get to a studio to when it starts being produced, is usually most of it written by then?
Yes. I'm trying to think of a time it wasn't. It would be like super minor edits.
Yeah.
Usually where like I'll be like, does this word sound better or this word? Like here, as I'm trying to remember what Wilson, he was one who produced Sad Addict. He said there's like I should repeat that twice instead of just going into a phrase, like something just as little as that. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I agree. That sounds better to someone else. It's like proofreading. I love to have someone read the song and be like, I get what you're trying to say, but like most people aren't going to hear that. And hearing that from somebody else, like, okay, I'll make it more clear.
When you're writing a song like by yourself, how is that process kind of different from when you're writing it with someone?
I think it tends to be weirder. For the next thing, I want to be more confident going into like, I love the pushback, and sometimes I agree, but sometimes I've disagreed, but still like gone with it and been like, okay, yeah, this is a more commercial choice for sure. So let's do that. But I kind of am more on the side of the the sounds that I was hearing in my head when I wrote this, I want it to still be in the song.
Right.
That means like distorting my voice or doing something like kind of unexpected. Let's stick with it. So I would definitely say when I write by myself, it's weirder. I don't usually, like, people will ask me, well, where does the verse come in? Like the producers are trying to like line up the song, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the structure is.
Yeah.
I'm not a songwriting major. Like, it's
Yeah.
usually it has a structure, but like sometimes it doesn't. And I think that's more of a SZA influence, because her songs, like, what's that song? Supermodel makes no sense for a lot of it. I'm like, what are we talking about here? And then when I found out that she was just freestyling, and it's just like a thought, like literally just like her rambling. I was like, that makes a lot of sense, but it sounds really good. Like, do I really care that? Like, I get the message. She got a message across, but also like it wasn't like this perfectly tied up song. So I think sticking to the weird is kind of more me.
Is it Wilson McBeath that produced your songs?
Yes, he did Sad Addict, I'm Not Having Fun. I'm like, what songs do I even have out? I've released 3 since I've been here. 4? No. Oh, Tunnel Vision. I was like, there's another one. Those 3, yes.
Yeah.
And then Halloween, Chris is who produces Luke's stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is a more like, I don't know how to describe Chris's production. His process was super cool. Both of them, like, absolutely love both of those guys. Like, they're such good producers, but they're different. Like, they work differently. And that was really cool to experience. Something new, because Wilson and I have our flow. And so I was being challenged to really think about what I wanted out of the song. Like, Wilson can like my mind, but then I was like being challenged to articulate with Chris. And like, that was reminding me of like, no, this is my sound. Like, this is what I want to sound like. And I can actually like say it. So I think it's cool. I think everyone should work with multiple producers, because it's like, showcases a different part of you.
It's interesting now that you mentioned you had different producers, because Halloween does sound so different from some of your other songs. But then also like Tunnel Vision does sound a lot different too. But that was
Wilson.
Wilson. That's interesting.
That was cool. Wilson, like the whole time we were doing that, would be like, is this too weird? Like, he would ask me, and I'm like, no, keep it. Like, that was, I'm like, he's just like, really? Like, he was like having a great time as a producer, getting to do things that, like, I don't know, he can do any genre. Like, that man's brain in production is so large. It's crazy. So he just kept being like, is this too weird? Is this too weird? I was just like, no, that's exactly like what I want. Like, keep the weird sounds. And so that was really fun to like geek out a little bit as far as production and like the filters you can put on your voice and things like that.
I love that little phone like notification in Tunnel Vision.
Oh yeah. That was I told that and the bark, like, we grabbed from, I forget like where you get random sounds, but like we were listening to a bunch of barks for a while, and that was really funny.
And I was looking at like I like looked at a lot of your videos, but
oh, thank you.
With like the Tunnel Vision artwork, I just love that the artwork for that one. Did somebody else take the photo? Because I saw like you got the doll and kind of costume to design the doll.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like when I came up with that idea, but it was in my head for a long time. I had my friend Mackenzie, she's a professional photographer, she's so good. She took the pictures, like we did it on the same day that I did videos for Tunnel Vision. And so I was just holding him diagonally up, and she was like under, getting the picture of the sky. Yeah, it was funny. And I had to Google, I forget where, I think I got them from Etsy, the Barbie angel wings. And then I bought that doll who looks like the guy I wrote the song about. And then the jeans from Amazon as well. Like it was so weird to be shopping for a Barbie, but I was really happy with how that came out.
Yeah, and I just like the other day noticed on Halloween you also are wearing angel wings. Was that like connection intentional?
I wouldn't say it was 100% intentional, but I did like realize it. There's this quote my poetry teacher in college would always say is that the art is smarter than the artist, where like things in your subconscious happen and then you realize it later. And I feel like it was very much that, where it was like, I think Tunnel Vision is more, he was the angel in my eyes. And then Halloween, I'm not even the angel in that one, but it's more like the representation of the female is
Yeah.
a song. So there definitely is some symbolism there.
Yeah.
Are there any times that you like struggle with coming up with new concepts?
Yes. I do like write the same song in different ways sometimes. And then I'm like, but then I think about Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. And I'm like, a lot of this is like repetitive. It's like a repetitive story, but I still want to listen to it. So I don't know how to like know when it's overdone versus okay, like, all right, you made it different enough. It's like it's a different enough perspective on being with a toxic man. Like, how long can I talk about that? Is kind of the question I ask myself. Like, I want to write a song about something like bigger, I guess, like Crack Rock by Frank Ocean, where it's about like the crack epidemic. It's unique, and it's crazy when people can write songs about like an actual real world issue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you do that? Please tell me. Like, the fact that you can touch on that in a song is impressive to me.
Yeah. When artists do talk about other issues, but then like kind of mask it with about something you would typically see in a song, like whether it's like a love interest or something, it's like sometimes I don't even notice what it's actually about, but then like later you're like looking at the lyrics and it's like, whoa.
I love being like a lyric detective. Like, if a song calls me to do that, I enjoy it way more. And I think that like brings a good point to, when you step into like a write, you need to know what the person's intention is. Are you trying to make like a hit, like a radio hit? Or are you trying to like, I mean, radio hits are still art, but like, I want to say like, art. Like, I'm trying to hide a metaphor, or I'm trying to write something that like you might have to work for and it's not easy listening.
Right.
Those are the writing rooms I want to step more into for myself writing, but for other people that like want to do a commercial song, like I'm down to write a pop bop. Like, that's
I don't know if we already asked you if you have like a favorite lyric that you've written so far.
Oh, you brought up this line. While you were having dinner with her family, I was kissing guys who didn't really want me. Like, that was so real. That was like a longer section originally, where like I was really explaining like how shitty my high school dating was, which actually was just like non-existent. It was just more like guys that literally didn't really want me but just would have me around for time. And people were having like real relationships, and some of them are married, and like the discrepancy between the two was pretty drastic. And like the person this song was in a very serious relationship with this girl and like still follows her family. Like, I remember looking that up and being like, bro, like, like you have not let her go. But like at the same time, I don't know how upset to be about that, because it's like they were a big part of your life. Like, you had your own relationship with them outside of your relationship with that person because of how long they were in your life. So I don't know. If that relationship went further, I don't think I would have made him unfollow the family.
It's interesting that you said that, because like sometimes when I'm writing things, it may sound like I'm really angry, but then like that may just be how I felt in that moment. Do you think like when you're writing, is it more specific to certain moments in time, or kind of a little broader? I guess probably depends on.
No, that's such a good question. And I think it's a good opportunity, because I try to explain this to people. I'm like, I don't feel this way anymore. Like, my feelings towards this person has changed since I wrote that song. Like, that was a moment for sure. And it was more of a sad moment and a more of a like pissed off moment. And then now in retrospect, I'm like, man, he wasn't that bad. But in that moment, I was mad. Or like, that's interesting. Like, people who are still in relationship, I'm not in a relationship with this person, but I know people who are still in relationships with people they've written songs about that are like pretty mean about that person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you recover? Do you tell them that? Like, it was just like, this was a therapeutic moment for me. And it came out in a song and it
Right.
sounds super cool. So I'm going to keep it.
Mhm.
But I still love you. Like, I love you, but that wasn't cool. Like, you not calling me when you got home and like leaving me wondering. Like, this is an example like of someone I know who has a song kind of like that. She was like pissed at her boyfriend for ghosting her all night, basically. And I was like, yeah, how do you recover?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. How do you recover that relationship after dropping a song like that? But some people do because they like understand that like this was a moment. It was a human moment. It's like an argument. Like you get over it. But unfortunately, it's documented for all time.
So you are from Nashville, right? Or you
I'm
live in
living in
Nashville?
Nashville. Yeah, I'm from California.
Were you like making music when you were in California, or did that start when you went to Nashville?
Crushed came out while I was still in college, and I went to college in Santa Barbara. So, yeah, I started in high school, so I was still in California.
Because I assume Nashville is very like country. Is it like harder to make music in an atmosphere so filled with country, or do you think it's like a little easier with being a little bit different?
Honestly, I can't really tell. I think that communities in general, for whatever genre, are more accessible in Nashville. Whereas LA, like it's very gatekeepy energy.
Yeah.
At least that was my experience. Nashville, I've DM'd people who are way more successful than me and like can just write with them, end up writing with them because they like help you and get you in, especially in the pop scene, because it's like once you find the people in there, we all are looking out for each other because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to another country, right? Because that's not necessarily my forte. But it's also been interesting because country's changing and they want more genres blending into country. A lot of R&B writers, rappers even, are being invited to country rights. I think it's a really good time to be any artist in Nashville as country expands. I would even go to a country write if I got invited to one because I think it's fun to write and you can make it more folk.
Is there any other genres that you'd be interested in exploring?
I told two girls from, I don't know if they consider themselves label. I don't know. But I told them I'd be open to rap. And like, I 100% will rap, like give someone else a rap because I used to make them for fun. And again, like embodying Tyler the Creator, like if someone's really down to make some weird shit, like I will happily join and be a writer, but I will never do that in public.
Are there any projects you're working on right now?
It's not a specific project. Literally for the past, I guess I should be a little bit nicer to myself. Like the last year I literally just popped up in Nashville and had to like establish relationships with people. And now I have them and I know who I want to go to for like different songs and different genres. Right now, I'm dealing with like all these voice note ideas on my phone and trying to make a cohesive story. I can't think of an album where it's like just a bunch of songs that don't go together. Like the whole point is to like, story. Right. So I'm like, right now, I think I have it on my board. Like 18 songs that aren't even necessarily all done. I haven't even recorded most of them, but I'm trying to sort them into two separate things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that pop song that like, and this is why it's been really hard, that pop song that I was talking about that I really, really like, I want it to be in the first one, like the first thing I want to release, but it's just not. It's not for it. So I'm like, that's why it's like, okay, I got to push this. I got to wait. Maybe I'll still record it and have it, but it just doesn't go with the next thing I want, which is again more acoustic, more scaled back.
So with like these two different projects, is it mostly like each one kind of has a certain sound, or are you more trying to like make it one story, or I guess a combination of both?
I've gone a couple different ways, like kind of seen it as act 1 and act 2. I think the first one, the story, it was written last October, like exactly a year ago, a lot of the songs. It was like the first guy I had a situation with in Nashville, and he was super confusing. Like, I knew he liked me, but I didn't know how much. And then he got really distant, and then I called him out on it. And then he soft launched with his girlfriend that he's still with. And I was like, oh,
no.
That's why this was so confusing. You had a woman, and like, that really messed me up. And so it's not like I didn't get cheated on at all, but like that was kind of more the theme of this first one, is that like the not knowing why someone's pulling back from you, and then finding out what it is, and then being like super pissed off about it. That's kind of that section. And there's, I think, like 3 songs when we were talking about like, is it hard to come up with new concepts? That's where I was like, these 3 go together. Like, they need to be, when you listen, like they need to be boom, 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 because they're kind of in the same vein of, I wanted to confess my feelings to him so badly, and I couldn't. Like, literally, like, it was like feeling like that when I would try to. And I pulled him outside of his work. I said, I don't feel comfortable around you.
Oh.
Instead of I love you, or like I like you. It was more, but that was like true. It was, I didn't know what to feel because he wasn't showing me either. Like, it was such inconsistent behavior because there was another girl in the picture that I didn't know about. So it was kind of more about me not being able to like just say that and have a resolution. Like, if I had that conversation way earlier on, we would have been able to like navigate it. I think we could have probably still been friends, but like, my anxiety cannot have that confrontation. So I was just like, sure, I'll come over. Let's hang out. Let's go get food. Let's go to Lover's Circle. Like, without the clarity. So it's a lot about a song that I actually like did a clip on Instagram about, Duct Tape. It was about like not being able to say what I wanted to say. So that project is very much like that person in that story. And then the other one is more recent because it wasn't written a year ago. So that's like, it's more present on my mind.
Yeah.
The first one is like more showcasing singer-songwriter side of me. And then the second one is more like tunnel vision, where I'm down to have some really interesting sounds. So I feel like I can't have them together. They don't work.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like in Nashville or just other artists. Are there other like smaller artists that you'd like to highlight or talk about? One
of the first people I met here was my friend Matt McCartney, and his stage name is With Friends. It's W/FRNDS. He has a couple country songs. He doesn't sing on them. He produces them, and then he works with other country artists. Not country, Daphne, Browdy, also someone I met really early on. Very Phoebe Bridgers, Maxwell Luke. Yeah, I was like, that's his stage name. Okay. Yeah. Super like Conan Gray, nostalgic, but like in his own voice and in his own, obviously all these artists in their own way. I'm just saying who, if you as a listener were trying to figure out like, I want someone kind of like this, who you would listen to. Wilson just released his first song. He's doing his own solo project, which is super dope. Park Bench. Amber Ace, super cool girl. Oh my gosh. She has described her music as like Sabrina Carpenter, SZA. She loves Brandy. She loves John Mayer. You hear it all. She's such a talented songwriter, and her melodies are super cool. And she's also working on a project that I've been blessed to hear, and she's gonna pop off. Like, I really sincerely believe that. So hop on the train now. Hop on the train now and gatekeep.
We will.
We will.
She needs the streams.
So with the like projects you were talking about, is that kind of what you're working on next, or do you have other singles that you're kind of focusing on before that?
I think December is a blessing as an artist because you're not going to release in December. I don't know I mean, some people might. And so the very earliest something would come out is January. So I'm taking this time to get some solid demos of these ideas and then decide if any of them are single worthy. Obviously, before I release the project, I want to release at least one single.
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna do it if it's not ready yet. I have one song that have collaborated with others on that I would maybe release as a single more like soon, but everything else I see for me setting a deadline probably February would be the latest
Hmm.
for the next thing.
And so with the songs that you've released so far, are you thinking any of those would be part of the other projects, or are they kind of their own thing?
The only song I would maybe consider is Tunnel Vision. The only reason I hesitate is because I don't know what the other songs sound like. I don't know if they would
Hmm.
sound good together.
Yeah,
So
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
when I do make these songs, I want to like not fully finish them until the very, very end and like
Yeah.
go back and make sure they flow. So probably not, which is
Hmm.
why I like hesitate to do singles sometimes is because of like that potential.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
what if I like this song so much, but I also have all these other songs that don't sound like it, and now I can't like edit it. I've thought about doing like Tunnel Vision EP version in parentheses.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. Um, but it's not necessary. Like I think it can live on its own.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And earlier you were kind of talking about like being a lyric detective kind of, and I think I wanted to like talk about certain lyrics from Sad Addict, but then I just found myself being like, oh, this one, like the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
so, because it's like such a very visual story that you're telling through those lyrics, and then it also just kind of really hits with that chorus. Is that like a story? Like, is that an actual story of your life, or is that something you kind of made up?
It's a real story. And I posted probably like a 3 minute long story on my Instagram when it happened. So everyone that was around me at that time knew what happened.
Yeah.
Um, what was the timeline here? I wasn't fully moved to Nashville and I was still on dating apps. I'm only on one right now. But I met this guy and I really liked him. He and I were like talking nonstop, and then he stopped really weird in the middle of a great conversation. And then he told me later that in person, because at that point I was still in California, kind of, he met a girl at a bar and he was like going on dates with her. And so he's like, "You're not here yet. So sorry." And I was
Wow.
pissed. But I also was like, I mean, okay. Like we hadn't met up yet at that point.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, I was on Bumble and he came up and then we reconnected and he said like I thought about reaching out, but I thought like he's like obviously that didn't work out with that girl. Wish I didn't do that. Like let's start over. And I was okay with that. I don't think I would be now, but that was me a year ago. And we went out. It was a great date. And then he got weird again and then he like just said like I didn't feel it or whatever. And I was like, okay. Flash forward like maybe a month or two later, I go to the championship game with Messi at Nashville Soccer Club. And I
Mhm.
went by myself. Like I am obsessed. My dog's name is Messi. So I was so stoked to go to the game. I run into him
Oh.
and my mood went from like 100 to 0 so quick. I also had like the best day before that. I went on a
Oh.
shopping spree because I got a new job and I was getting like my work clothes and I was treating myself. I think I even got my nails done. Like I had a full like self care day. And then I went to this game and I was like, this is literally the best day of my life. And then I ran into him. Well, first I ran into his dad and I knew it was his dad because I
Oh.
stopped facing. And then I didn't see him, but I was like, oh, he's here. And then that gave me anxiety. And then I ran into him. And I was just so mad that I didn't just like let it go earlier on when he had ghosted me the first time because I would have probably like not stalked his dad on Facebook and had feelings and know all these
Yeah.
people at this game that I wanted to just have my full attention to. And I was like
Yeah.
taken out. I was taken out of the game and I was pissed off at myself for being taken out of such a cool moment. I was like, why am I letting him ruin this for me. I didn't want to give him that credit, but I was also like, this is 100% my fault. Like, I shouldn't have tolerated that behavior. And when I do tolerate that behavior and choose to do so, it is like self-harm in my mind. Like, so that's where I was just like, clearly I like must kind of like this if I continue to entertain this pattern or this type of person. And so that's where like Sad Addict came in, was just like, why is this who I go after? This is my own fault. Taking accountability.
Is that kind of the sort of way you like to write, based off of specific stories, or does it just kind of vary?
I think it's really hard for me to just pull something out of thin air. Like, usually a song that will be finished in one sitting is from like, I come home from a situation and then I write, and like it all comes out in that moment. When I have to recall things, or if I'm writing with someone else, I'm like trying to step into their shoes for the situation, I do definitely have like a harder time. It's a different challenge. Like, I wouldn't say it makes a worse song. I think it's just a song I have to work harder for than the one that you write right after that. Like, I posted that on Instagram, and then I like was on my piano, and then I actually wrote that one on the guitar, which is why I feel like it's more pure in its structure.
Kind of shifting over to I'm Not Having Fun, I guess kind of talk about that music video, because it's very fun.
Yeah. The only thing I knew, I made that with Talia Stewart, and she's a really talented creative director. And then Michel Fuller was the videographer. As a creative director, you send like the different looks, like inspo, and we definitely wanted like a trad wife moment, because it's like, I'm not having fun being this person or this type of woman for you in that relationship. And then that's why I like blended a bunch of Kens in a blender. That was my idea. That was like literally before she said anything. I was like, that's all I know I want out of this music video. At some point, I'm putting Kens in a blender. And that is 100% like, that is an intentional connection from tunnel vision, as far as like, I'm so done with this. Yeah, how do you like explain the irony of that? Like, I'm not having fun with you, but I'm having fun now that I'm done, I think is, I guess, how I would set it up. Yeah.
It's also interesting how I don't know if this was intentional, but with those Kens in the blender, and then having that one of the dolls as the picture in tunnel vision, were you kind of putting him in the blender?
I'm trying to remember if I did. I kind of think he should have been in there if he wasn't, but I kind of think I kept him intact in case for some reason I wanted to use it again. Or like, I kind of have like an attachment to it now. So I don't think he was in the blender, but he should have been.
When you like worked on that music video, because I guess you've had some other videos, is that kind of a cool way to bring your songs like to life visually?
Yes. When a lot of times when I write, I see the song like in a movie or a music video. Like, I see it while I write it, and that was that song for sure. But also the songs I have been writing, I also like see the visuals. It's also way out of my comfort zone. Like, I really don't know. My mom was there the whole day, and she was saying, I think you were so successful because you were so tired. I was jet lagged because I think I'd only been back from Japan for a couple days. And so I was super jet lagged, and I wasn't thinking. Like, if my brain is fully operating, I'm anxious and I'm thinking, but I was too tired to care. And I was able to just kind of embody it in full send. If I wasn't in that state, I don't know what that video would have been like. So it was very much a blessing to be so tired and not in my head.
Was it kind of the job of the creative director to get like, because all the like costumes and the settings are also colorful. Was that something you were kind of involved with talking to them about?
Yeah, yeah. She found the location, which is super cool. And the lemons were fully like a happy, not accident, but just like circumstance when
Yeah.
she went outside in the backyard. She's like, there's all these lemons, and like we have the yellow look. And I was like, sweet. And so they like staged that and it looked really cool. Um, but yeah, like she sent me inspiration pics and then we both worked together. Like she had a lot of things in her closet already. And then she bought a lot of the things for me. I would say a look I maybe strayed a little bit from what originally was the inspiration was probably my bikini. I don't remember what it was. It was kind of more like a soft glam, like espresso. Sabrina Carpenter was the kind of mood board vibe, and then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm Shark.
Yeah.
So, I think that's about it. But everything else,
Yeah.
like she really nailed it and nailed um like my vibe, my aesthetic.
Yeah.
One of them at least, yeah.
I was just thinking about Sad Addict. You also have that acoustic version that you release. Is there, I know that song's kind of extra sad. Is there any other reasons besides just like making it a little more emotional in that acoustic version that you decided to share that one too?
I wanted listeners to hear my voice a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I love the original version. I think they serve two different purposes.
I think so too. It almost sounds like two completely different songs.
Mhm. And I like to do that. I think it's fun when
Yeah.
artists switch it up. Like I know Frank Ocean's Coachella set is super controversial because he switched up like all his songs. Um, but I think as an artist, especially him, who's had those two albums out for like however many years, I'm sure it gets kind of old to sing it the same way over and over again. And so that was what he had been
Mm,
picking up and he was sharing with people. And they were like, yo, I wanted you to just sing this straight, like how I hear it every time I listen to it on my Spotify. And he was like, no,
Mhm.
I've been doing these remixes, I've been reimagining it. And um, I personally think that's super cool. I know
mm.
some people just want to hear the song. And so I was like,
Yeah.
it's there if you want, but also this is how I wrote it in my room when I was crying. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Are you interested in performing live as well, or have you already?
I have pretty bad stage fright and I 100% need to get my behind on a stage more often. Like it's ridiculous. But I also like didn't have so in Nashville we have writers rounds and you need 3 to 4 songs. You also usually bring a guitar and I am it's not good enough to accompany myself at the guitar. So I would need to have
Mhm.
a friend help me out, which isn't a big deal. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to be somewhere that I could play the piano, which there are a few rounds that I can do that. And now that I have 3 to 4 songs, that's possible. Before the one time I did do it, I sang 2 songs that I'm probably never going to do anything with because
Hmm.
I mean, that happens a lot at writers' rounds. They're like just testing songs out and how they sound. Um, but yeah, now I would feel more comfortable doing those and performing live.
Yeah.
Ideally, um, after a full project is out, I feel like I'd feel a lot more confident, especially with these songs that are like mainly piano or I wrote on the piano. I would feel pretty confident
Hmm.
performing um, as if no one was there, if that
Right.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
like other
Yeah.
songs, I literally like don't know how I would perform tunnel vision really. I would be sitting probably. Like I don't think that's a song that I would be like bopping. That's what's hard with
Yeah.
slower songs and artists that sing slower songs is when you make the promotion videos and things like that, you have to like act hype, but your song is not hype at all. So it's
Yeah.
like otherwise people are gonna click. So you have to do something exciting, but it's so insincere. And I just want to feel super sincere when I'm on stage.
At the writers round, what are you like necessarily doing? Is it like other writers are like pretty much sharing their songs and then you guys kind of like collaborate?
It's so they have like usually 3 to 4 artists on stage,
Mm.
and each one sings a song, and then they do it 3 times, like around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And sometimes they're like thematic, where it'll be a pop writers round.
Mm.
Or the one I did, it was all country, and then I was the only different genre.
Mm.
Sometimes there'll be like a producer and the artist, and they'll both be doing a writers round, which is interesting. That's one I've seen where like a guy who produced a bunch of people's songs had all of his artists, not his artists, but all of the artists on stage with him, and then he also had his own songs. So it was a very like similar sound.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I guess I would say this past week has been the time where I've been a little bit more doubtful of myself as far as, is this the right path? Because no one tells you this. I feel like that dreams can cost a lot of money and a lot of sacrifice of creative dreams in particular, of a more textbook plan. Like I could go to law school and I could know the salary that I'm going to make. When you choose to do music, it's smart to have a more flexible job that allows you to go to rights when you're called to them, and record when you need to, because sometimes recording is like an all day thing. I can't like last year I worked full time and it was pretty rough to coordinate things because a lot of producers will like want to work in the morning, not necessarily want to work till midnight on a weeknight, and I get it, but like that was what worked for me. So the hustle is real and it can be really discouraging. However, I think something that I keep coming back to, especially when I sit down at the piano, is like, I at least need to say this, or like this is at least like the bare minimum what I need to do before I can feel at peace that like I've served my purpose. Like it, for a long time, it's felt like this is the only option. Like this is the only career I can have. And I still feel that way, but I've kind of like adjusted my perspective of like, just at least say this. Like you don't need to have this big grandiose goal to be your motivator.
Yeah.
It could just be like, I need to get these words out for somebody, and then I'm sure something else will come. I think I just had too big of a dream, and I think it's still like a dream that's good to have, but I had to scale it back to not be discouraged in this process. So I think the community here is great because everyone feels your same pain as far as, man, it would be so much easier if I just chose to do this. If I chose to do the 9 to 5 life and whatever, and not be hustling for my own bills, but also to pay for production costs and things like that when you're unsigned. And I guess don't give up is the main thing. Like I feel you. Make a smaller goal if it doesn't feel attainable is my advice. And I for the first time in a long time sat and just wrote for a couple hours yesterday, and it reminded me why. So like remember your why, which is you love doing what you do. So, and I am so lucky to have worked with everyone I mentioned so far. Like everyone I've come across in Nashville, it's been a positive experience. So very lucky to work with such talented people and to know such talented people.
Yeah.
That's my speech.
I'm not just saying this, like Halloween, I mean all your songs are good, but Halloween like genuinely is one of the best songs like this year that I've heard. So I like not even kidding. I probably just because I like relate to it so much, but just everything, the lyrics, production, it's all so good.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. For realsies. For really.
But keep us updated with all your music, and like if you ever did perform, that would be so cool to see you live too.
Yeah.
just
Sure,
like
I will.
let us
That's
know.
so-
And if you ever want to talk to us again, we'd love to talk. Or if you
I
never
love
want to talk to us
yapping.
again.
I will be here anytime you want.
But yeah,
This is super fun.
thank
It's
you
so nice to
again.
host with you.
Yes,
It was
thank you.
fun talking to you.
I'm
So,
excited if you liked Halloween for the next few songs. I think you'll really like them.
oh, I'm excited too then.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you everyone so much for listening to our second episode of Lil Pop Stars Podcast. Make sure you check out Charlotte's music wherever you stream music and follow her journey as she continues to make more projects. And we will see you all on the next episode. Thanks for listening and watching.